Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Dewi Maharani. In this video, I'm going to read an article about everyday life in the Soviet Union, the shopping runaround. The author, Eric Smith, was head of the New York Times office in Mexico from 1971 to 1974. The following passage is adapted from Mr. Smith's book, The Russian, which was published in 1976 by Quadrangel, or the New York Times Book Company. One, I had heard about consumer storage before going to Mexico, but only when we began to shop there did the Russian consumers problem really have meaning for me. Consumers, the words over waiting lines, but Soviet lines have a special quality all their own. Typically, the Soviet man spends 2 hours a day in line, 7 days a week. Personally, I have known of people who stood in line 90 minutes to buy 4 pineapples and 3 hours to buy 3 large heads of cabbage, only to find the cabbage were gone as they approached the front of the line. Lines can run from a few yards to nearly a mile. Some friends of ours watched a line of people in Mexico singing up to buy rocks. The line lasted 2 days and nights and ran for a course although an apartment development. 2. In spite of all of this, the natural reaction of a Russian woman when she sees a line forming is to get in immediately, even before she knows what is being sold. However, Soviet lines are more fluid than they appear. In most stores, for example, shoppers must stand in not 1 but 3 lines for any purchase. The first to select a purchase and find out this price. Second, to buy a cashier somewhere else in the store and get a receipt. And the third, to go pick up the purchase and turn in the receipt. 3. But in the store one morning, I found out that the game is both simple and more complex than that. I went in to buy some cheese, butter, and Bologna sausages, which were in 3 separate departments, each with its own line, 9 lines. 4. Rather quickly, though, I noticed that experienced shoppers were skipping the first stage. They knew what most items cost, so they went directly to the cashier for their receipts. After studying price, I did that too. Then I went to the cheese line, the longest, probably 20 people to get the words over with first. I was in line less than a minute when the woman in front of me asked me to hold her place and darted off to the buttermilk and milk line. The cheese line was moving so slowly that she got her butter and milk and returned before we had advanced 3 feet. I decided to take the risk too, and I got back with my butter while the cheese line was still inching along. 5. Then it suddenly occurred to me that all over the store people were getting into line, holding place, laying, entering. Everyone was using the cheese line as home base. That was why I was barely moving. It kept expanding in the middle. So I got the man behind me to hold my place, and I went off to buy my dalgona once again. I worked. It took me 22 minutes to buy butter, sausages, and cheese. But instead of being boring, I felt as if I had beaten the system. 6. This competitive shopping gives an atmosphere of tension to a Russian's life. People barrage into store and bump into each other with face set in combative expression. You have to understand, said a kind, gray-haired person, that for as long as we can remember, shopping has been a struggle, life is a struggle. 7. There is hardly any effective at first thing to help shoppers. Americans complain about the consistent commercial in the United States, but they might consider if they were exposed to the consumer blackout in Russia, a typical Soviet, and might be if you want to live to a ripe old age and be beautiful, much through and will drink tea. Most newspapers publish without it. The shopper has no hardly yellow page or daily newspaper, supermarket, or department store. It's to help her edit where to shop. 8. Beverly is whispered low paid $18 to $20 monthly. Slackers take a portion a tariff item and sell them secretly to regular customers who have age left and brave in advance or can be counted on to pay a high price on delivery. 10 to 15 rubbers on a 16 rubber train coach is standard. In 1976, the rubber was equivalent to $1,032. So common in this article that the Soviet press always complain about it, but it doesn't do any good. Crocodile to Soviet humor magazine. One showed a department store employee promoting some newly arrived items. Their customers in the leather goods apartment. 500 imported women's purses have been revised. 450 of them have been bought by store employees. 49 are under the counter and have been ordered in advance. For friends, one purse in this display window. We invite you to visit the leather department to buy this purse. I think enough. Jelas I say, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.